everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite for March the 31st, 2021. This will be the first of 17 nights in a row that I will be live streaming. This will be a record for me as far as live streaming goes. We're kicking off the 17 nights with Dynamite. We have the NXT takeovers coming up next week. We got WrestleMania. We got the Hall of Fame. There is a lot going on. Make sure you stay tuned to the new NoDQ.com for the very latest updates, news, opinions, special features, all that stuff over at NoDQ.com. And please, if you get the opportunity, subscribe to this channel and tell a friend. Spread the word any way you can. It's very much appreciated. If we hit 60,000 subscribers by the end of the 17 days, I will be giving away 3 gift cards. Head over to twitter.com/AaronRift for more on that. Now, let's get to Dynamite. We kicked off the show with Christian Cage in his first singles match in 7 years, up against his old nemesis from TNA, Frankie Kazarian. You had the wrestlers at ringside. This was a taped show, so it was just the wrestlers, but they were loud. They were making noise during the show. They were chanting, "You still got it," at Christian, and he still has it. Really solid match here between these guys. Christian can still go. Frankie Kazarian dominated most of the match. Christian made a comeback, hit some of his signature moves, and the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome." However, he missed a big splash, and then Kazarian got the chicken wing on. Christian managed to get to the ropes, and then Kazarian hit a springboard leg drop for a near fall, followed by a flex capacitor off the top for another near fall. Christian kept kicking out, kept staying in the game, and then Christian hit a frog splash finally, was successful with it. Kazarian kicked out of that, and then Christian sent Kazarian into the ring post, hit the kill switch, and picked up the 1-2-3 victory, and then helped up Kazarian after the match. TJS with a $5 super chat, first one of the evening. Thank you, Tyler. He says, "Do you expect either show to break 1 million after NXT moves to Tuesdays? I always watch your recaps, but I'm about to start watching NXT/AEW YouTube clips." NXT, probably not. I think initially both shows will do 15-20% higher viewership. Demos might go up a little bit, the all-important demos, but NXT will probably settle around 800,000, 850,000. AEW, I think some weeks when there's a really big show, they'll probably break 1 million, but I think most weeks AEW will get around 900,000. That's my gut feeling at this time. I hope both shows can grow their audiences over time, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. We had a Sting and Darby Allin vignette, and Darby Allin was doing a voiceover. He talked about how Big Money Matt is trying to buy respect, and Darby said that Matt will have to earn Darby's respect. And there was a guy with a paper mask of Matt Hardy, and Darby said that Matt's money doesn't mean shit to him. And then the Matt mask was set on fire, and you had the TNT title there with the flames in the background. It's pretty cool. These Darby vignettes, they're well done. I like them. They're artistic. Marcus Metcalf with a $2 super chat says, "I like the new website layout." Well, thank you for that, Marcus. I appreciate it. And for those of you that prefer the old layout of No DQ with the links and no images, if you head over to nodq.com/classic, you could see all of the latest headlines, no images. You could just scroll through really easily and see what the latest news is. So I tried to do that as a compromise for people that miss the old school No DQ look. But for those of you that are still following. I appreciate it. Thank you for your continued support. And again, please keep spreading the word and stay tuned for all the updates. We had a Jade Cargill promo. She talked about how nobody can beat her. She is that bitch. That's her catchphrase. We had the exhibition match between Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall. QT got no entrance, so they're going with that gimmick because you know you're on the back burner when you have no entrance. And poor QT, he's just standing there wanting to do this. Cody's kind of a dick, though. Why not let the guy have an entrance and let him have a chance to shine? So that was kind of mean. Tony Khan, why were you so mean to QT Marshall? Why did you guys not give him an entrance? That was kind of a low blow there to the poor guy. Like, I almost feel bad for him. Like, you're trying to make QT a heel here, and you're not even giving him an entrance. But it was funny. You had Arn Anderson as the referee. Nightmare Family at ringside. Cody was a man of his word. He was keeping it nice and friendly. He did not put on the figure 4. He did not hit the crossroads. But then he got slapped by QT for his troubles. And the crowd, the wrestlers, started chanting Cody's friend. Cody held the ropes open when QT was knocked to the outside. QT came back in and then sucker punched Arn Anderson. And that's when all hell broke loose. You had 3 of the Nightmare Factory trainees, Nick Camarado, Aaron Solo, and Anthony Ogogo. The 3 of them attacked the rest of the Nightmare Family, basically aligning themselves with QT Marshall. So yes, we have yet another faction in AEW. This has to be like, what, the 10th faction simultaneously in AEW right now? What we need to do is come up with a list of people that are not part of a faction in AEW right now. It's a little overkill. Like back in 97, WWF had a lot of factions, and Survivor Series was even like gang wars. It had some kind of tagline like that because there were so many groups. And then in WCW in 2000, you had all these factions. As Greg says in the chat, all elite factions. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I want to know who are the guys that do not have any allegiance to any other wrestlers. Are there any at this point? It seems like every wrestler has some kind of allegiance to somebody. There's no lone wolves in AEW. There's no Baron Corbins. There's just a bunch of factions now. It makes me wonder if they're going to introduce trios titles. I've been wondering this for a while because there are so many groups of 3 or more people. Why not do a trios title at this point? You might as well. Otherwise, I have no idea why there are so many groups. And I suppose I do have an idea. Maybe it's to get people on TV when your roster is so bloated now. You gotta make all these groups as a way to get people on TV so they have something to do. Steve-O in the chat says too many damn factions, and CC Drink says don't like all the factions, and Nick Glavin says ugh, trios titles, LOL. Anyways, Dustin was busted open, and Aaron Solo was wearing a white t-shirt very conveniently, and they took the steel steps, and QT gave Dustin a pile driver on the steps, and then QT was gonna use the chair and the steps to give Cody a concerto, and that's when Red Velvet managed to talk him down, and they finally backed off. I liked the angle. My only issue was that there's just too many damn factions. Like, if there were only like 2 factions in AEW and they did this, I'd be like, this is a great way to elevate these guys. But it's like, you got so many factions now, like how can you even keep track of what's going on when there's just so many different groups now? We had Red Velvet backstage being attacked by Jade Cargill, and once again she said, "I'm that bitch." We'll see if that catches on as a t-shirt on ProWrestlingTees.com. We had a John Moxley promo for his match with Cesar Bonomi, and we had this match between them. Bonomi got some offense. He had his friends, again, I'm not sure they're officially a faction, but he's got his buddies, DJ Drake and Ryan Nemeth, Dolph's brother. They interfered. Ryan ended up getting hit with the paradigm shift. And then Moxley finished off Bonomi with the sleeper hold to score the victory. So nice little change of pace. Moxley winning with a sleeper hold. We had a promo from Team Taz, and once again, Taz making it clear to everybody that everything's great. There are no problems with these guys. I guess we'll at least get one faction breaking up at some point. We had MJF and the Pinnacle celebrating in the former locker room of the Inner Circle, and then there was a knock on the door, and it was Chris Jericho and members of the Inner Circle. They were back to take their locker room back. And MJF was telling the others, we got to get out of here. He tried to go through the other door, and Jake Hager was there, and all hell broke loose. Huge fight broke out. Hager put Wardlow through a table. Dax got busted open, and MJF and Jericho were brawling in the bathroom. MJF got his face shoved in the toilet, and then MJF was thrown into the Pepsi machine, and then Jericho told MJF, "This is our locker room, bitch," and then took off the Pinnacle sign from the outside and put the Inner Circle sign back in front of the door. Makes me wonder if they're going to do this blood and guts match sooner than later. I was thinking they were going to try to hold off on it until maybe the summer when we could get a full crowd. But, you know, after doing an angle like this where Dax is getting busted open and MJF's going through the Pepsi machine, like, I feel they might do this blood and guts match, maybe a double or nothing. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Nick Lavin says that pop machine segment looked sick. I agree. It was a pretty cool segment. We had Don Callis having some words towards Matt Jackson, saying that he thought Matt loved Kenny Omega, but instead Matt broke Kenny's heart last week when Matt and Nick refused to do the too sweet. And Callis ended up slapping Matt. Matt grabbed Callis by the throat, but then backed off. And Callis said Matt is pathetic, makes him sick, and he took his leave. We had a trios match. Talked about trios earlier. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers against the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid with Don Callis on commentary. Things got crazy right from the get-go. Phoenix did a moonsault onto everybody on the stage before the bell even rang, and they were all standing there waiting to catch the moonsault, of course. And then they hit a triple super kick to Omega. They did some dives to the Good Brothers. Eventually, we had the heels. I guess they're heels. I thought Penta was a heel, but you know how it is in AEW. They always change every week. So the heels slowed the pace down. They triple teamed Phoenix. Penta was able to make the save, and things broke down once again. Laredo Kid hit a Michinoku driver for a near fall on Omega, but then Omega made a comeback, hit the V-trigger, and hit the one-winged angel to pick up the win over a very game Laredo Kid and his buddies Penta and Phoenix. And then after the match, John Moxley showed up, but he was not alone. He had the Young Bucks as backup, and Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, they fled the scene and took their leave. We had a Britt Baker promo about the AEW Elevation show, and she hyped that up. She talked about the unsanctioned match with Thunder Rosa and said, well, technically, since it was unsanctioned, that match did not count, so she's not sweating it too badly. We then had 9:30. We had our 9:30 spot, which was the women's match. Right back to 9:30. They had that 1 week where they main evented, and now they're back in the 9:30 slot. And the This Guy Experience with a $2 super chat, thank you for that, says, is this your first of 17 nights? Good luck with that. Indeed it is, and thank you, This Guy Experience. I appreciate it. Again, as I said the other night, we're going to see who sticks with me every single night of this. I'm paying attention to everybody in the chat room who's here tonight. And I'll be watching every night to see which names I notice in the chat every night. We're going to find out who the most loyal no DQ viewer is by the time this is all over. And we're going to have somebody designated as the most loyal no DQ viewer. So make sure, chat room, you got to make sure I notice your name. So keep the comments coming in so I know that you're participating and you're there. Just don't leave one comment because then I might forget that you're in the chat room. And Shanti says, I have the alert bell on. Yes, turn on your notifications so you know. But you do know every night. Whether it's after the show, No DQ Review is at 8 p.m. Eastern. You know when to tune in. And thank you to everybody sending the comments about how they'll be watching. I appreciate it very much. Colin Andrew, the Cleaver, says Baker is the best thing in AEW. Definitely up there. Chris Benoit, I see what you did there, with a $2 super chat, says, hey, Aaron, I'm here. How's it going, Chris Benoit? Steve-O says, I'll try. Can't guarantee this Saturday or Sunday views, LOL. Well, good thing people have phones and you can watch it from wherever. Tune in and just leave some comments. William says, no DQ is the best site. Thank you for that, William. I do appreciate it. All right, let's get back to Dynamite. We had Nyla Rose and the Bunny against Big Money Incorporated. I like to call them that. I think they have some other name. I already forgot what it was. So I'm just going to call them Big Money Incorporated. Nyla Rose and the Bunny with Big Money Incorporated against Ty Conti and Hikaru Shida, the women's champion, with the Dark Order. And you pretty much knew how this match was going. You knew that everybody was going to start fighting, and sure enough, they did. They all started brawling, the two factions. And imagine if one show, Tony Khan, maybe you should do this just to get people talking. Like, one episode of AEW Dynamite should end with every single faction. Like, literally the entire locker room empties out and you have every faction brawling, and it's just pure chaos. You have like 100 wrestlers brawling all over the place. Like, I'm waiting for that. I think WCW actually did do that. It was like June of '97. I think it was in Boston. They had this crazy ending to Nitro where everybody was fighting, like literally the entire locker room. And it was like for 10 minutes where everybody was just fighting, and Sting came down from the rafters and picked up DDP and took DDP back up to the rafters. That was a crazy show. And I still remember it to this day. So, you know, that's a sign that WCW was pretty innovative back then with stuff. So anyways, back to the match here. You had Ty hit the Ty KO, but Nyla Rose broke up the pin. Shida climbed up to the top and did a dive onto Big Money Incorporated, but they caught her, and then Ty Conti got up on the top and did a dive onto all them. That was pretty cool. And then we had the stupid babyface moment. Taking a page out of WWE's playbook. Vicky Guerrero got on the apron. Well, she is from WWE after all. She distracted Ty, and Ty's stupid babyface. You know, she's also previously from WWE. She got hit with a kendo stick from the Bunny while the referee was distracted, and the Bunny pinned Ty Conti, which I was a little surprised about. I figured I figured the women's champion team would win this, and Ty's been kind of on a roll right now. People are starting to feel like she's building momentum, and she gets beat by the bunny in the stupid babyface role of getting distracted. So yeah, this match was very WWE-esque in my opinion, with all the craziness on the outside, people fighting, and then the distractions, you know. We had Jurassic Express cutting a promo on Bear Country. They're having a match next week. And then we had our main event match, which was the Arcade Anarchy. Basically a street fight with arcade machines surrounding the ring. This reminded me of like a WWE Christmas match, you know, the Miracle on 34th Street fight, or a Halloween match, or a Thanksgiving match. You know, it was very comedy oriented, using all the props, which is fun. You know, it's a fun match. You had Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor going right after them. Orange was not doing the laid back, lazy gimmick. He was on fire right from the get-go, and he's got this new music from the band The Pixies, and I'm going to sound uncool here, but I never had any interest in that band whatsoever. So this music does nothing for me. Everybody on Twitter is marking out over it. So I apologize if you're a fan of the Pixies, but man, they do nothing for me. So good for Orange Cassidy, though. He's got some new music and a lot of people like it. So more power to him. Anyways, the match, they had a whack-a-mole out there, and Sabian was thrown into the whack-a-mole, and then he got hit with the mallet. And then later on, Chuck Taylor jumped off the Mortal Kombat machine onto Miro. Chuck Taylor had a teddy bear with Legos inside, and you know what happens when you bring in the weapon, or you bring in the tacks or the Legos, you're the one that ends up getting slammed into it, and that's exactly what happened here. Sabian powerbombed Chuck onto the Legos. Cassidy came in with a beach break to Sabian. Sabian kicked out of that, and then Cassidy hit an orange punch, but then Penelope Ford pulled out the referee and gave Orange Cassidy a low blow, and that's when Kris Statlander, who's been out of action for several months, she made her return coming out of a video game machine, and she ended up putting Penelope through a table, and not just any table, but an air hockey table. And the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome." You know, it's funny, people get mad at WWE for doing the piped "This is awesome" chants, but now you have the AEW wrestlers doing it. It's pretty much the same thing. Now, to be fair, and I say this about WWE too, the crowd probably would be chanting "This is awesome" by this point. So it's not like it's inappropriate, but it's just funny how like everybody's like, "Oh, this sucks. WWE's doing these piped in chants, doing "This is awesome." You know, it's cringe, but you know, AEW is basically doing the same thing, and I'm fine with what both companies do. At least they're doing it at times when it seems appropriate, and you know, it probably would be happening if there was a live crowd. Anyways, Miro went nuts at this point. He started using a steel chair on everybody, but then the saving grace, we had the white van appear, which was Trent's mom, Sue, and out came Trent. Trent is back, made his return. He's been out for what, like a month or two? Trent returned, and it was now in the favor of the good guys. Miro tried to go after Sue, but Trent stopped him. And then Miro tried to smash Trent with the Mortal Kombat machine, but he missed. And then Trent speared Miro through a table that Miro set up, by the way. So there you go. Again, the guy who sets it up or introduces the object into the match ends up getting put through it. That's the way it always goes. And then up on the stage, you had Orange Cassidy power slamming, or no, it was Chuck. It was Chuck power slamming Kip Sabian off the stage through a table that was set up, and the pinfall was scored 1, 2, 3. Good guys won. And then after the match, you had the big reunion with the best friends. Everybody hugged. Kris Statlander came back in, 4-way hug. Nice feel-good moment for everybody to end the show. Dynamite was fine, not a great show in my opinion. It was fairly good. I wasn't really blown away by it, but it had some fun moments. Main event was a fun match. Hopefully Miro is done with this storyline now, and they did bring up that he's undefeated. I'm hopeful that maybe he'll be taken more seriously after this. John in the chat room says, no DQ, I'm new to the stream. I'll be here every week. I'm loyalty. I appreciate that, John. Thank you for tuning in. So I'll probably give the show a B-. It was fair. Nick Lavin gives it a B+, Lewis with a B+, Dr. NXT Scorpio with a B, and Ron and Israel Diaz also give it a B. Michael Wayne gives it a B-. How's the stream, Michael Wayne, by the way? I know last week the Dynamite stream was having issues. MVP Kev with a B-, and Cheeseburger gives an F+, so probably trolling there. Tic Tat Tat with a C+, and Viperito with a C+ as well. So that was Dynamite, and NXT was mainly just build up for next week. At the end, we had LA Knight winning that Battle Royal. So he's going to be the last entrant in the gauntlet match next week to determine who faces Johnny Gargano on night 2. And you had Io Shirai come out at the end, and her and Raquel Gonzalez got in a big brawl, and Io Shirai did a big dive over the top onto everybody. The pull-apart brawl type scenario. But the bigger news that we just found out officially the other day, NXT will be moving to Tuesday nights. And that's part of the reason why I will be doing 17 nights in a row, because next week, of course, WrestleMania week. But then Tuesday, which is usually an off day, NXT will be on Tuesdays. And like I guys told you, if NXT was to move to Tuesday nights, I would resume doing NXT live recap. So hopefully people will tune in for that, and NXT will build up some momentum and get people buzzing about the brand again. But yeah, starting April 13th on a Tuesday, NXT will be on Tuesday nights, and after NXT is over, I'll be here recapping it. I'll be here for AEW on Wednesday nights, 5 nights a week, every week. I'm going to be live streaming. It's going to be quite the schedule, but I'm up for it, and you guys help make it easier. I really do appreciate your viewership and support. And I can finally, as Dr. NXT Scorpio says, no more switching channels. And for me, I don't have to have both on at the same time. I can focus 100% on each show now, which will be nice. Makes it easier than having to try and follow both shows at the same time. And lately, I've been basically focusing on AEW. I have NXT on, but my attention is on AEW. And that's the end of the Wednesday Night War, everybody. It had a run. Didn't really live up to maybe the expectations of some, but we got some really good wrestling. We'll still have some really good wrestling, and hopefully it's for the best long term. Mike B with a $5 super chat says, is Rambling Rabbit the son of the bunny? But seriously though, hope you are doing well, Aaron. He could be. I hope we get to see Rambling Rabbit again. I feel like now that The Fiend is this darker, literally darker because he got burned to a crisp, the Rambling Rabbit, those comedy segments are done for the time being, but you might be right about that. Rambling Rabbit, well, you're asking me a question. You're not actually stating it, but yeah, I think there is a possibility that they could have some similar DNA. Anyways, Greg says, how did Caitlyn take the news knowing she only has you 1.5 nights a week? Hey, it's the way things are, it's the way the business goes, and I'm gonna try to be on every night. There might be a time where there's a concert or I'm out somewhere, but Not often. Most of the time, you're going to see me with a pretty steady track record of doing these live streams. I try not to miss any. The game is on 100 with a $2 super chat. Says, I have a hunch that NXT might win next week. Yeah, they might. And I think that's kind of the idea, that they're trying to have one last victory so they can say, hey, we beat AEW on our last night. It's not like we got beat and then left Wednesday nights. But we'll see. I don't know. AEW, they got a pretty big main event next week with Moxley teaming up with the Young Bucks against Omega and the Good Brothers. Could be a close one next week. It will at least be one last big night head to head before it ends, I think. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. This was night 1 of 17 nights. Again, subscribe, turn on the notification bell for updates, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com. The new NoDQ, or classic NoDQ, if you go to NoDQ.com/classic. And Viperito says, Aaron, it's nice to see you. It's been a while for me. Subscribed since early 2010s. God bless. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to see you back in the chat room. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you for the next one. No DQ review. Have a great night, everyone.